Sarcastic.
Blog Talk USA. Are you tired of waiting for change?
1012, and it gives me 1,250 feet. Exit.
Announced the arrival of the flight from Los Angeles and Chicago.
Explosion.
And welcome one and all to TNZ Talk for Wednesday, March 2nd, 2016, the day after Super Tuesday. Who's having a Super Wednesday and who's not? Hopefully you are. From where Richard Zombeck and I sit, well, it's going to be a Super Wednesday for a variety of reasons. We have plenty to talk about. And Z, good morning to you, my friend, and hope you are well.
Good morning, Tony. I am well. I'm a little. That was quite a night. Even last night I didn't know quite where to start. So I went to bed at about 1 o'clock in the morning. The results were in, so to speak. Not all of them. Nothing unexpected today, but I don't know. I mean, I don't know at this point where I stand, where things stand, where the GOP is going, where the Democratic Party is going. It's all over the map. And, come November, I think there's going to be, just between now and November, there's going to be a lot more confusion.
Well, there's a lot of truth to that. Why don't we start with Marco Rubio? He did win Minnesota, but all of the punditry is saying that he had a horrible Super Tuesday, and he really should consider bowing out of the race. Of course, Marco Rubio is saying, I have a 50-state strategy. I'm going to exercise that strategy. I will be competitive in every state. I've got a way to do this to get the delegates I need. I think it's wishful thinking, but let him go ahead and do it. This idea that he thinks he's going to out Donald Trump is hilarious. Talking about how small his hands are. And then Trump's response to that. People compliment me on how beautiful my hands are. Welcome to politics in the year 2016, Z.
It's really kind of disgusting. It's schoolyard. It's schoolyard bully antics. It's not even schoolyard stuff. I mean, when I was growing up, my brother and I would exchange insults and things like that. And every once in a while, we'd drop the F-bomb on each other or whatever. And if my dad was listening in, and it resorted to penis size or vulgarities. It wasn't that we were reprimanded. He would roll his eyes like, "Come on, you can do better than that." You're my kids. You can do better than that. And it just. I would look at kids with like, "Yeah, you're a poopy head," and go, "Oh my God, really? That's the best you got?" And now we've got people that want to be president of the United States. Exchanging insults like 8-year-olds.
On a good day. On a very good day. Well, let's talk about the Rubio assessment. He wins Minnesota, but big deal. He wasn't competitive anywhere else, not even close to being competitive anywhere else. The Hill, the publication The Hill says that Rubio is one of the big losers on Super Tuesday, and they go on to say that the gale force winds are now hitting him in the face and are not behind him. So no matter what he's saying, there's nothing really there to carry him forward. I don't disagree with that assessment, but I also don't see him getting out. As we know, he is now the favorite son of the quote-unquote establishment. But we also know the establishment is being ignored by what do we call them? The electorate. Yeah, there we go.
And that seems to be the kind of comment du jour, right? I mean, you had in their speeches, You had Rubio running against Clinton and Sanders. You had Cruz running against Trump. You had, Cruz was also running against Obama, and so was Rubio, and Clinton was running against Trump, and Trump was running against Clinton. So, I don't know. And, I'm watching this morning too, and, you've got, Mo Brooks, from, was he Louisiana? Mo Brooks is a big Cruz, guy, basically saying, get this was really good, that Trump is the big loser in this race.
How's that? How is Trump the big loser?
Well, let me explain it to you, Tony.
Please do.
So he's on Steve Kornacki's show, and he's saying Trump is the big loser here because the primaries in that state aren't closed, right? So basically, his assessment of this is that Trump won in the primaries that weren't closed, that were open to, a closed primary means you have to be a Republican to vote Republican, you have to be a Democrat, like Massachusetts. Right. So his whole theory on this is that these weren't Republicans voting for Trump, and Kornacki picks up on that, and he goes, so wait, you're saying these are just Democrats playing games, which would be, the jump to point that I might go to also. And, Mo Brooks says, oh, no, these are undecided and independent voters. They're not Republicans that are voting for Trump. But Massachusetts blows his theory out of the water because Massachusetts is a closed primary, and Trump, surprisingly to me, and a lot of the people that I know in Massachusetts, at least the ones that didn't vote for Scott Brown, 51% in Massachusetts. In Massachusetts.
Well, it's amazing to me. And there was an article, I just saw the headline, I didn't read it, but it said, note to the media, you are all wrong. Well, we know that now. You don't need to point that out to us. We know that now. The reality is there's something to be said about what Donald Trump has done. We'll talk about that a little later, but let's move our conversation now to Ted Cruz. And I know we have some audio, so whenever you want to hit that, just let me know. But Ted Cruz, of course, has gone out of his way now to say, we are the only campaign that has beaten Donald Trump one-on-one, and we need to winnow the field so that we can, beat him everywhere. I don't know that the Cruz or the Rubio and Kasich and Ben Carson supporters are going to flock to Ted Cruz. And so that assumption, I think, is ill-timed. Now, of course, Ted Cruz won Texas, and that was no surprise. It was expected.
But not by much.
No.
Not by much. And there were states that Trump won that if you included Cruz, Rubio, and Kasich's wins, he still beats them all three.
Right.
So let's play Cruz's the beginning of his quote unquote acceptance speech for winning second place in most of the states last night.
But we are the only campaign that has beaten Donald Trump once, twice, 3 times. "15 states have now voted. Every one of those states so far has been won by either Donald Trump or myself. Republicans, together we have a choice. We are blessed with a deep, talented, honorable field. For the candidates who have not yet won a state, who have not racked up significant delegates, I ask you to prayerfully consider our coming together, uniting. For those who have supported other candidates, we welcome you on our team, standing united as one. That is the only way to beat Donald Trump.
Okay. So Chris Matthews last night listened to the same thing, and his question was, what exactly does prayerfully mean?
Well, that's what, I was just going to make that comment. Let's prayerfully unite. Kate, how do we do that? How do we do that?
Well, what he's suggesting here is the other candidates should have a come to Jesus moment, and divine intervention will come in, and Cruz will be the next nominee.
Well, but we already know that they're not going to do what Ted Cruz is asking, and certainly if, in my opinion, Ted Cruz will be easier to beat than Donald Trump. If you're a Democrat, that would be very good news, wouldn't it?
Well, Cruz is a worse choice than Donald Trump, I think. I mean,
that's the point I'm making.
Ted Cruz is, going back to Chris Matthews, on one of his shows, he jokingly said, if Ted Cruz is the Republican nominee, a darkness will cover the earth. So, a shroud of darkness will come over the earth if Ted Cruz is the nominee for. I mean, the Republicans can't stand Ted Cruz, so I don't know. They really don't have. They don't have anyone, Tony. I mean, they've got
during the day yesterday. I was watching one of the MSNBC reporters. It was in Texas, and he was asking voters who they voted for, and the guy said Ted Cruz, and he said, why'd you vote for him? It was the most negative reason in the world. And he said, well, Ted Cruz is at least upfront and honest, where he stands, although I know he's hated by a lot of people. There's something good about that and something bad about that. I mean, he never came out and wholly and unabashedly supported him in a positive way. Every comment he made about Ted Cruz had a qualifier. Every single comment. That should tell you something.
Well, and he's shut down. He's shut down the government. He's put in bills to weasel his way out of them later, so that he can say that he was against something, and called Mitch McConnell, the House Majority Leader, a liar on the floor. In Congress, in public, called him a liar. What kind of working relationship is he going to be able to have with other people in his party? I mean, the thing is we've got two essentially front-running candidate, if you want to call even Cruz a front-running candidate. And I mean, if you can call a win, a second-place showing, a win, then we've got these two guys, both of whom, this is what gets me, okay, is that the right has been calling Obama a fascist for 8 years, and they're willing to accept two candidates who are essentially talking like fascists. I mean, are suggesting fascist regimes. I mean, I've got another audio of Ted Cruz, and let me know when you want to hear this, because
whenever you're ready.
Yeah, let's play it now, because it's everything he wants to do when he quote unquote becomes president.
Continue the Washington cronyism, just like he supported Obama's TARP Wall Street bailout. I will stand with the people of this country and end corporate welfare. adopt a flat tax and abolish the IRS. Donald Trump funded the Gang of Eight. With your help, I led the successful opposition to the Gang of Eight's amnesty plan. Donald Trump supports Planned Parenthood. I will direct the Justice Department to investigate Planned Parenthood. Donald Trump promises to compromise with Harry Reid and Chuck Schumer on Supreme Court nominees. I will never compromise away our religious liberty. And unlike Donald Trump, I will never compromise away our Second Amendment right to keep and bear arms.
And I will bring back slavery, take away women's voting, allow child labor. I promise you, my fellow Americans, I will bring us back to the 1800s.
Well, and of course, he has Abraham Lincoln's DNA, and he has a plan to clone Abraham Lincoln to go out as a spokesperson for the Republican Party, who Abraham Lincoln would be ashamed of today.
I mean, that little minute-and-a-half speech, should be played side by side and kept in the same archives as speeches from Hitler, Benito Mussolini, Fidel Castro. I mean, listening to that, my wife called me yesterday, terrified with how well Donald Trump did. And I have to keep reminding her that he's got 30 to 40% of the Republican vote. That makes up about a third of the national vote. So there are 2/3 of the people in this country are lean more liberal. They are becoming more and more liberal. Democrats are as they poll people, and trying to kind of calm her down. And then I listened to this Ted Cruz speech, and I'm like, what the hell is going on? I mean, that is really, not to be overly Chicken Little, but that was a really scary speech.
Yes, it was a really scary speech. And, just the idea that he can abolish the IRS, that would, I think, take an act of Congress. What makes Ted Cruz think that he would garner the support that it would take to do that? You listen to his ideas. First of all, he's making accusations that he's not and he cannot back up. Since when has Donald Trump attacked the Second Amendment? Show me some proof that happened. There isn't any. I'm sure of it. And again, this goes back to Rubio and Trump calling Ted Cruz a liar. Now, is it sticking? To some degree it is. Not enough. But they will continue, I think, to do that. I don't know that Ted Cruz has a snowball's chance in hell of getting the nomination, and certainly Marco Rubio does not. I still think that John Kasich could be competitive. If Rubio and Cruz were out and Kasich were still in, he would be the nominee easily.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is the thing: is there was nothing he said was based on fact or had any place in reality. I mean, he talks about an investigation into Planned Parenthood. For what? One, we've already had it, and for what? That they're supporters of women's health. That they're using funds to murder people. I mean, that alone I don't get. A flat tax, what exactly does that mean? Where's your plan? How is that going to work? getting rid of the IRS. You already covered that, and then Trump Trump has said several times he's a licensed gun owner, and he said he would shoot someone in the middle of New York City and his followers would still vote for him. So he's obviously not anti-gun. I don't get it. I mean, I don't, and the people that are cheering, I don't even know where to go. I mean, the statistics on Trump alone. Let me just read you a couple statistics from the PPP polling on Trump supporters. 66% of Trump supporters believe that Obama's a Muslim. 61% of them believe that he wasn't born here. And 85% agree with a ban on Muslims entering the country. Those are Trump supporters. 85% of Trump supporters think we should ban an entire religion from coming into this country. Something that Paul Ryan has already said he will not put on the floor or even consider putting up for a vote, which is one of the relationships that Trump has to have. And during Trump's speech, Trump's speech yesterday, he threatened Paul Ryan.
Absolutely. Exactly what he said is, I don't know him that well. I'm sure we'll get along just fine. But if not, well, there will be hell to pay.
Yeah. Yeah. He's in an open speech threatened the Speaker of the House, third in line for the presidency, and the guy that you have to suck up to get anything on the floor. I mean, it's disturbing enough that we have people running for president that think that this is basically a monarchy or a dictatorship or whatever they want to call it. But even worse, that we have people that not only think that that's the case, but are perfectly okay with that being the case when it suits their needs, their desires, their views, their visions for society, the country, and our future as a country. I mean, that in and of itself is incredibly disturbing, that we have people that just, one, don't understand how this country works, and two, don't seem to care. Right?
Well, yeah, absolutely, you're right. Before we move on to Donald Trump in a more specific and elongated way, you and I have not had a chance, because I was out a few days, to talk about Chris Christie's endorsement of Donald Trump. Now, I did not find it surprising. I can only imagine what that conversation was like when they talked privately. I'm sure it was quite colorful. I'm sure Donald Trump blew a lot of smoke up Chris Christie's butt. But Chris Christie, his face alone, just watching him, was quite entertaining. You know, your thoughts on Chris Christie and his endorsement of Donald Trump?
Well, based on, I mean, he was doing impressions of Donald Trump. He was making fun of Donald Trump. He was saying this guy could never get nominated. All that leading up to, I now endorse Donald Trump. And this is the guy who was the former chair of the Republican Governors Association, right? And there are a lot of Republican governors. And for him to come out now and say, hey, listen, I back Donald Trump 100%. And watching him last night, all I could see was this little thought cartoon bubble over his head going, what did I do? Oh, my God. What did I do? I mean, he did not look happy to be there. And you know what I noticed too, Tony? I don't know if you picked up on this too, but if you take away the American flags in Trump's speech from his Florida quote-unquote home, it looks like the home of Castro, Kim Jong-un. It does not look like even George Bush, and speaking from Maine, from their compound, had a more kind of American toned down fireplace, but this like crystal chandeliers and weird ice skating theme and gold walls. It was
surreal.
Yeah, I mean, it's like what you saw when they broke into Saddam Hussein's palace, and after he was toppled, it looks like that over the top weird. There's a term, and people from New Jersey will understand it. Cafone, kind of nouveau riche, disgusting.
Don't hold back now, Z. Don't hold back.
Puke-invoking decor that you're just like, oh my God, really? Could you be more obvious about how much money you have and how important you think you are? And what did he have? Like 15 American flags behind him, in front of what looked like the entryway to the Ice Capades. It just, oh.
Let's play Trump's little victory lap.
Yeah, it's really short because it's basically it sums up the entire.
It's more than enough. It's more than enough.
This has been an amazing evening. Already we've won 5 major states, and it looks like we could win 6 or 7 or 8 or 9. It's really been great. I want to congratulate Ted on the winning of Texas. He worked hard on it, and I know how hard he worked, actually. And so I congratulate Ted Cruz on that win. That was an excellent win. We're going to make America great again, folks. We're going to make it great again. And, I watched Hillary's speech, and she's talking about wages have been poor, and everything's doing badly, but we're going to make it. She's been there for so long. I mean, if she hasn't straightened it out by now, she's not going to straighten it out in the next 4 years. It's just going to become worse and worse. She wants to make America whole again, and I'm trying to figure out what is that all about. Make America great again is going to be much better than making America whole again.
Yeah. So, go ahead, Tony.
Yeah. Well, listen. First of all, his comments about Hillary Clinton, if anybody, of course, has half a brain, knows that the Secretary of State or the First Lady can't do anything about wages, etc. As a member of the Senate, she introduced a plethora of bills that would have given equality to women, etc. So it's not like she hasn't done anything, number one. Certainly his gracious congratulations to Ted Cruz, who worked very hard in Texas, and I know how hard he worked, is lovely. It was a lovely little gesture. But today, it won't be so lovely for Ted Cruz, and you and I both know it, at least from the Donald Trump camp. By the way, did you hear who his new campaign manager is?
I did not.
Mike Huckabee's daughter, Sarah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, that explains Arkansas, huh?
Yeah, that does explain Arkansas. Again, listening to the vitriol that comes out of his mouth, the way he spews his hateful and slanted rhetoric, his bigotry is just disgusting. And yet he is appealing to people for, I think, what has become a pretty obvious reason. People want something very different than what the Republican Party has been able to give them to this point. When the establishment doesn't clearly get that message, and they don't. And I'm sure you've heard the rumors that there is going to be a third party formed so that the Republicans can run their own candidate, who is most likely going to be Mitt Romney. And if you haven't heard that rumor, then you heard it here now. There's something called the Constitution Party, and they are thinking of taking that over, but they would have to do it in the next couple of weeks to end up on the ballot in November.
And who are they?
I love it when you do that. It's like, okay.
And who? I mean, this is all desperate attempts. I mean, these are all. This is scrambling. This is. I don't see them. I don't see them getting away with this, Tony. I don't see them putting someone else in. I don't see them. I mean, unless they have a brokered convention, which is going to really just infuriate people. It looks to me like Trump's going to be the nominee. I mean, granted, he's in court right now. He's being called to court for fraud. But here's that. Okay, is the Attorney General of New York is suing Donald Trump University for fraud and for basically taking people's money. But knowing Trump supporters, it's Eric Schneiderman, and I think what we're going to hear about that is like, yeah, look, it's some New York Jew, liberal, trying to screw with Donald Trump, and this is how the Democrats play. I mean, this is perfect timing for this to happen to Trump, because what it's going to show is that he's a victim and that the left is attacking him. So who cares? I mean, I don't think it's going to make a difference.
Well, I don't think it will make a difference either, and I have no idea what is this a jury trial?
I think they're looking at the possibility of a jury trial.
So this is the beginning of what will be a laborious process then.
Yeah, but I don't think it's going to hurt him.
I don't think it's going to hurt him either. I don't know that there's anything that can hurt him. You know, there's that old saying in politics, you know, the Teflon Don. And I think that he's even got it easier than that. Not only does nothing stick to him, but he seemingly can do whatever he wants, whenever he wants, at a whim, to say whatever he wants, and people are clamoring for him to do that, which scares the hell out of me. And I'm going to say it once again, a lot more Republicans turned out yesterday than Democrats. The Democrats are making the claim that the reason that Democrats aren't coming out in bigger numbers, or they're just waiting for the nominee and they'll be there for the general. Don't worry about it. I don't believe it for a hot second. And if Donald Trump continues to roll on the way he is, and I think at this point we can almost call him, or should be calling him, the presumptive nominee of the Republican Party, Democrats better have a strategy better than they've ever had before, or they're going to give up the White House to a whack job.
Yeah, I mean, if he has, I mean, you know, so let's talk about the general. You know, if he has, does he have the votes to beat Hillary or even Bernie for that matter?
Well, at this point, I think and again, at this point, now a lot of things could change. There's been a lot of discussion, and I think that Bernie is pretty much done after yesterday. Yeah, he won a couple states, and that's great, but I don't see that he's going to be the nominee at this point. I'm just being honest with the way I feel. In fact, Dana Milbank's column from late last night is called "Why the Democrats Didn't Feel the Burn." And I'll let that stand on its own. If people want to go check it out, it's the Washington Post opinions blog. But I think I feel confident that Hillary Clinton will be the nominee, and you know everybody's now giving her advice how to go after him. Her thing was America's always been great. We need to make it whole. That actually seems to be a message that's resonating with people, and in fact, I've read more than a couple articles that said she's finally finding a message. She's finally in her groove. She's finally more comfortable. She's finally not afraid to say things that Bernie Sanders forced her to say. And I think that's where she was getting tripped up, to be honest with you. I think that she was having a hard time being a liberal, being a progressive. And so therefore, because she doesn't wear it well. And I think she finally just surrendered to it. I really do believe that's what happened. She just finally said, you know, instead of fighting it, instead of bringing my message, I better bring out the message they want to hear, not the message that I want to deliver, if that makes sense to you.
Yeah, in fact, let me play this short clip from her speech last night because it ties right into what you're talking about.
We have to make strong the broken places, restitch the bonds of trust and respect across our country. Now, it might be unusual, as I've said before, for a presidential candidate to say this, but I'm going to keep saying it. I believe what we need in America today is more love and kindness. Because you know what? You know what? It works. Instead of building walls, we're going to break down barriers and build ladders of opportunity and empowerment so every American can live up to his or her potential, because then and only then can America live up to its full potential too.
So, love and kindness.
No, there's nothing wrong with that message.
No, I don't think so either. And in fact, she has changed course a little bit, like you were saying. She's also what I noticed is she's not talking over the cheers anymore. She's letting the audience have their part in this. She's allowing them to engage and be part of her speeches, which is different for her. She for a very long time she would try to outspeak the cheers, and either she came to this or someone told her, it's like, hey, let them be part of this. Let the people have their voice. And I think that's really important, and it makes for some great sound, because the cheers are overwhelming. I mean, to hear, typically I don't like to hear USA, USA, because I just keep reminding people it's like we're actually not number one in a lot of areas anymore. And the whole big foam finger and everything like that. But she has honed and winnowed down her message to attract progressives and liberals to a greater degree, I think.
And I think she's done it effectively. Rihanna had a comment to make about Ted Cruz. But before I bring her on, as you know, the Michigan primary is next week, March 8th. And Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders both have ads running here, and they're both focusing on the Flint water crisis. Bernie Sanders' ad is quite effective. He starts it off, Z, by talking about, imagine being a mother, a parent, and watching your child, disintegrate, or not disintegrate, that their mental capacity denigrates as a result of drinking lead, toxic lead water. Imagine that. And he says, I have 4 kids and 7 beautiful grandchildren, and I can't imagine. Then he goes on to say, if the local government can't protect you, if the state government can't protect you, then the federal government must. It's a very effective commercial. Hillary Clinton has a Flint commercial that is far more effective, because she, of course, is appealing to the African American vote, where she says, if this were to happen, and I wouldn't expect you to understand the geography of Michigan, in Grosse Pointe, which is a very wealthy neighborhood, or Bloomfield Hills, which is a very wealthy suburb of Detroit, and in Flint, we all know that this problem would have been fixed immediately, and the crowd absolutely goes wild. And it's a really effective commercial. So we'll see what happens. I expect Hillary Clinton to win Michigan, but let's welcome Rihanna to the show. Rihanna, first of all, let me thank you for filling in for me while I was out. I, again, appreciate everything you've done to support what we're doing here at TNZ Talk. How are you this morning?
Oh, my pleasure. Happy to do it. I'm just glad you're feeling better and doing well, and the show is back. I get my fix. I'm doing great since you guys are back on together. I have to say something just so quickly, and my husband, my Republican husband, said this morning. first good political point he's made in quite a while, I have to say. He pointed something out to me. We were Richard and I were talking about the Donald Trump kerfuffle. There you go, Tony, on CNN. When he refused to, no hablo English, I don't know white supremacy or KKK, that whole thing. Well, my husband pointed out to me this morning, he said, Ted Cruz was up in the polls in Texas, and he said, now, I don't mean to denigrate your home state, but there are an awful lot of those groups down there. He said, I guarantee you Donald Trump did that deliberately so that when Ted Cruz went around bragging about winning Texas, Donald Trump could then say, oh, yes, good job, Ted Cruz. Congratulations. Yes, indeed, you did win Texas. And, him not acknowledging those groups and kind of drawing a little attention to the whole white supremacist group thing, and then Ted Cruz sweeping Texas. So I thought that was an interesting point that he made. And I started thinking about it. I thought, Donald Trump does not do anything that isn't in some way deliberate when it comes to PR. So,
and a good thought at that.
Just a thought. It's not often that a Republican in my life makes a decent point, but I thought that was one.
They're not necessarily known for that. So.
No. No, they're not. But great show, guys. I'm glad everything's back on track for TMZ.
Thank you, Rihanna. Again, I appreciate it and appreciate the call. Z, I just got an email from The Hill, and the article is titled, GOP hawks float disobedience if Trump is commander-in-chief. Let me just read a little of this article verbatim. Defense hawks on and off Capitol Hill are growing increasingly alarmed at the prospect of Donald Trump as commander-in-chief. These mostly Republican hawks say the GOP frontrunners' bombastic remarks about torturing terrorists and killing the family members of Islamic State in Iraq and Syria, ISIS, fighters would violate the Geneva Convention, and Trump's vow to bomb the you-know-what out of ISIS-controlled oil fields could have unintended consequences. Former CIA Director Michael Hayden, a retired four-star general, has suggested that U.S. military commanders could simply ignore President Trump if he tried to follow through with some of his campaign promises. Retiring Rep. Scott Riggle, a Republican from Virginia, a Marine Corps Reserve veteran who represents a military-heavy district based in Virginia Beach, penned a scathing letter Tuesday urging fellow Republicans to dump Trump. He warned that the billionaire businessman lacks the judgment, temperament, and character to be commander-in-chief. And, of course, it goes on from there and gets more scathing.
And there are plenty who are slowly coming out and saying, I'm not gonna back him. So you've got, the other day I played a clip of Haley Barbour, who was chairman of the RNC, former governor of Mississippi, who was basically saying that towing the line, right? That I will. If he didn't come right out and say it, but he said if I'll go with who the people decide, and I will back the GOP nominee. And then we had the former governor of New Jersey saying, Christy Whitman, saying there's no way that I'll back him. He will destroy this country. So the GOP is, and this announcement or this rhetoric coming from the military makes it even more interesting. And that's also a point that I made to my wife Pamela last night. Is I said, look, when people like Mussolini and Hitler and Castro and dictators rose to power, there wasn't a foundation of democracy already established where you have these these different areas of government that have a check and balance to prevent this kind of stuff. So, thinking that, Donald Trump or Ted Cruz are going to rise to power and take over the country is this kind of, Cruz said it himself. He quoted FDR in all we have to fear is fear itself. And now we have the military saying, look, we're not going to obey orders to do this kind of stuff. It violates the laws and the rules of war. And, like you said, and quoting the article in The Hill, the Geneva Convention. So, but we still have people that think that this is okay. That what he's saying.
Stop and think about
okay.
Stop and think about this statement. Former CIA Director Michael Hayden, a retired 4-star general, has suggested that U.S. military commanders could simply ignore a President Trump if he tried to follow through with some of his campaign promises. Think about that.
Right.
Isn't that kind of an overthrow of the government?
Yeah, it's a military coup.
Thank you.
Were those the drones you were looking for?
Wow.
Yeah, I know. I know. I mean, we're really, we're teetering on the brink of disaster here. It really is. It really is something. It's really something to watch and to witness and to behold. And thank God. Here, this is going to sound a little weird, but it's my wife likes politics, but her grasp of history and the intricacies. And, I'm not insulting my wife. A lot of people are like this. Who has time to pay attention to this? I mean, I told you this, today and yesterday, that having you out for a little bit of time and having to collect this stuff and get it together, it takes a lot of work. And, in general, I watch the news and I pay attention to what's going on, probably way more than what would be deemed normally healthy and a hobby. And who has time for this, right? People don't have time for this. So you end up with people who are basically ignorant and uninformed, and they go, yeah, Trump's going to do some stuff, and this country's going to change, and this sucks because I don't have a job, and I want a job, and I want a jet ski, and damn it, the black guy hasn't done enough, and the country's going to hell in a handbasket. And right on, this guy talks like I do, and he's gonna get these. And it's easy to understand where the excitement and the thrill of what Donald Trump is saying would be attractive. It's like I've said, I can see the appeal, And that said, I gave this a little thought too. Is to, I know this is going to be painful, but just imagine Donald Trump as president, right? And trying to get stuff done in Congress, and Congress going against him the way they went against Obama, right? And he's battling with Paul Ryan, and he's battling with Mitch McConnell, people from supposedly his own party, and he gets up on a speech that every single network is going to cover because it's Donald Trump, and Donald Trump just lays it out. He goes, listen, Mitch McConnell can do what he wants. I know all the hookers he's been calling in, and, here are their names. Here's Mitch McConnell's personal phone number. Call him because I want to abolish this, or I want to abolish that. And Trump would have no problem doing that. And, it's an unfair comparison, but it's the kind of stuff that FDR used to do, too. He used to have these long-winded speeches about how terrible these individual Republicans are and how they're in the pockets of big business and embarrassing them publicly. And Trump would take it to the nth degree and call them out personally on issues that have no business in politics, but that would embarrass them And, he gave out Lindsey Graham's personal cell phone number. What's going to stop him from giving out Mitch McConnell or Paul Ryan's? Keep calling Paul Ryan until he puts this Muslim ban on the floor. This is what we're looking at. We're looking at someone who has no idea of decorum, no idea of how politics works. He thinks he's going to get in there and run it like a business and that he has the final word. And most of the people that are voting for him have that same idea of how politics works. And we have a president that by far had the least number of executive actions, and it goes out that he's a dictator and with all these executive actions, but nobody's looking at the actual facts that he has equal to or less than the executive actions of predecessors of his. But yet, there are people in this country that think Obama is a dictator and has taken this country down a road to ruin with his executive actions and has overstepped his power. So, this is what we're dealing with.
Absolutely. So let's take a big step back and look at this more globally. On the Republican side, Donald Trump seems to be in command. On the Democratic side, Hillary Clinton seems to be in command. Now, Bernie Sanders did win, 3 states last night?
4, I think.
4, all right. But certainly the delegate share was much smaller there, and he is way behind in the delegate race. As we move forward, we expected him, of course, to win Vermont. There was no surprise there. But as we move forward, there's really not a clear path to victory for Bernie Sanders, especially in more diverse states like Michigan and even Minnesota and some of the other states that are coming up, Ohio and Florida, where Hillary Clinton is polling in fairly large numbers. So what is Bernie Sanders, in your opinion, what is Bernie Sanders' fate? I already gave mine earlier. I think that it's over. That doesn't mean that he's going to walk away. He still has a lot of cash on hand. And although his burn rate is higher than Hillary Clinton's, he still has a lot of money. And he has still made history in how that money came in.
And also, he picked up, he doubled his money in February. He picked up $6 million in 2 days, which is more than, for example, Rubio picked up in the entire month of February. So, he can stay in. And, I got to say, Tony, too, is in the races that he did win, he won by quite a bit. These weren't small wins. In Virginia, he won by 30 points. In Oklahoma, he won by 4. In Minnesota, he won by 20 points. And Colorado, he won by 15. So, the 4 states that he did win, they were not small. Granted, Clinton kind of shellacked him in a lot of the races. Massachusetts, not by that much. 2 points in Massachusetts, and the rest she's 20, 30. Texas, she's like 60 points. But I think he at least thinks he's still in. We're talking 15 states so far, right? There are 35 more to go. He can keep pushing her further and further to the left. I think he plays a role in this. But like I think we both agree on, she's the presumptive nominee, and it looks like it's going to be New York versus New York in a Clinton Trump showdown, unless the GOP pulls something out. And either way, no matter what happens in the GOP right now, the party is completely fractured.
I just had a thought jump into my head, and I don't even know where it came from, but I'll throw it out there because it just jumped into my head. Do you think it's possible, if Donald Trump is the Republican nominee, that Republicans will defect to Hillary Clinton, not necessarily as Democrats, but as Republicans?
Well, Christy Whitman said that. She said that, she wouldn't want to, but she would vote for Hillary Clinton before she voted for Donald Trump. So, will they, it's quite possible. It's quite possible that Republicans will move to Hillary Clinton just to not see Donald Trump as president.
Well, that would be a very interesting scenario. That's like scary scenario.
I think I got the gist.
I still prefer kerfuffle, but we'll go with scenario for right now. And I continue to be very concerned about Donald Trump's lack of foreign policy chops. He has none. I mean, none. When I say lack, I should say he has no foreign policy chops. I don't think that doing a business deal in Macau makes you commander-in-chief material because you know how to build a hotel in a dictatorial country or dictatorial country. It's insane. This guy is not qualified to be not only the commander-in-chief, but the president of the United States. There's nothing in his background that gives him that experience. And sweet God, who's going to advise this guy? I mean, if most of the Republican Party has become a hater, and they have, who's going to want to work? Who's going to want to be in his cabinet? How many people will turn him down before he can seat a cabinet?
Well, yeah, but the thing is, too, is that, the rest of the world is looking at this and going, you're kidding me, right? You're kidding. The president of Mexico, there's not going to be any effing wall. We're not going to pay for any effing wall. And Trump is asked about that yesterday during his speech and says, oh, they will. I wrote Art of the Deal. I know how to do this kind of stuff. It's like, really? That's your reference point? A book that you wrote, which, is second only to the Bible, Tony. Let's not forget that. Second only to the Bible.
Well, all right. Well, as we get ready to wrap up here, we've got about 4 minutes left. Super Tuesday was really a pretty super day, and the results were a little more mixed than I thought they would be. I thought Donald Trump would do a little better. Hillary Clinton, I thought, did just fine. I certainly have no problem with what Bernie Sanders was able to accomplish. He didn't spend nearly the money Hillary did, focused on 5 states where she focused on all of the states. Now we move forward to Michigan. We've got Thursday night. That's tomorrow night. The debate here at the Fox Theater in Detroit, and then on Sunday in Flint for the Democrats, which I got press credentials for, by the way, and nice. I plan to be there on Sunday. I forgot to tell you that this morning. And so the Talk Radio News Service have asked me to go in their stead. They're a good group of people. I'm going to be going there on Sunday evening for the debate between Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders and sitting in the press pen. So that means I'll have good seats.
Very nice.
Yes.
Very nice indeed.
Very much looking forward to it. And then you and I need to decide if we want to go to the Democratic National Convention this year in Philadelphia.
Well, and don't step out of that pen. Oh, no, that's a Donald Trump rally where they beat you up.
Oh, man, did you see what they did to that Time photographer yesterday?
Yeah.
They body slammed that dude. They hurt him.
Yes, I did. And they also, there was a black woman at a Trump rally protesting that got shoved and pushed and kicked out of a Trump rally also. Completely surrounded her and insulted her.
Yeah, let people know where they can get more information. We got to wrap it up for today.
All the information you're ever going to need and more, and we're afraid to ask for.
Ever!
TNZtalk.com. That's A-N-D, TNZtalk.com. Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, everything you'll need, all of our archives. And follow us on Facebook, Twitter. There's also even a little video that shows you how to rate us and comment on our iTunes. Download us on iTunes, rate us. That helps more than anything else. We have a support page that you can go to and find out the myriad of ways that you can support us. Tony?
Yep, absolutely. I want to thank everybody for being with us again today. Thank you to Ron Spikes and Rihanna for her support of the program. In the meantime, we'll be back tomorrow. And as always, we ask that you be well.